Hello everybody, this is Refresh, and I'm here to take a look at the Undead Unleashed Commander Deck from Innistrad Midnight Hunt for Magic the Gathering. This is a blue and black deck. According to the back, it says, "Death is a minor inconvenience. Choose your commander and overcome both friend and foe in this definitive multiplayer Magic format. Enlist Wilhelt and his army of zombies to overwhelm your opponents. When a zombie falls, another will rise to take its place." Wilhelt the Rotcleaver. In life, Wilhelt was the most eligible bachelor on Innistrad. In death, he leads an army of zombies that terrorizes the townships. He wants only to cause enough carnage and mayhem to impress the love of his afterlife. It includes a 100 card deck with 15 new cards, deck box, 10 double-sided token cards, plus a life wheel, strategy insert, and reference card. Let's go ahead and open this up. Over here we have the art for Wilhelt the Rotcleaver, and then a bunch of punch-outs that you can use as counters or as victory confetti. Let's punch them out for fun. Here's our deck box with Wilhelt on the art outside. It is made of some cheap cardboard and already seems to be falling apart. It's also barely going to fit the contents after they're sleeved. We have a deck spacer. Here is our life wheel. Our insert includes a huge amount of artwork as well as some information on how to play the deck. I do think that it is a little vague in terms of what the cards are in the deck, and a proper deck tech would be, I think, a little bit more useful, but you do get also all the commander rules. I think the previous version actually did a little bit better job of showing you how physically the commander game works, but there's that. On the back you have a lot more art and then a little bit of information about the character's background. So there's that. Let's take a look at the deck. Here's Wilhelt the Rotcleaver. This is a 3/3 legendary zombie warrior. Whenever another zombie you control dies, if it didn't have Decayed, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice a zombie. If you do, draw a card. And we have a secondary commander in Eloise Nephalia Sleuth. This is a 4/4 legendary human rogue. Whenever another creature you control dies, investigate, and whenever you sacrifice a token, surveil 1. That is the deck, as is pretty obvious from the box and the cards. This is a bit of a zombie deck, but there seem to be other potential ways of running about this deck, so I'll go ahead and play this against its rival, and I'll be back to let you know what I think. Alright, so Undead Unleashed is really a zombies deck with also some sacrifice themes melted into it, and you can see that present on the face commander Wilhelt, which cares if your zombies die, you get another zombie that it's a 2/2 with Decayed, and then you can sacrifice a zombie to draw a card at your end step. And that's typically going to be one of the Decayed zombies, which are quite weak in general, and so you don't really want to be attacking with them because they die at the end of combat, not even at the end of the turn. And so you will often just leave them not attacking and then sacrifice them to Wilhelt or to many of the other effects that are in the deck. The sacrifice part is also made clear by the secondary commander Eloise, who has you investigating whenever you have one of your creatures die, and then whenever you sacrifice that token or another token like a decayed zombie, you also surveil one. As you might expect from a deck that has sacrifice as one of its themes, there's a little bit of graveyard consideration here too, but it's actually not the main theme. And the zombies part is well represented in terms of lords, but surprisingly underwhelming in terms of the overall creatures. Now, part of this is because you want to generate a lot of zombie tokens, and so you have cards like the Endless Ranks of the Dead and Liliana Death's Majesty and Liliana's Mastery, Curse of the Restless Dead, all creating zombies. And there's a high density of 3 mana plus Anthem effects for your zombies, so that your zombies can get a lot stronger. And so that part is actually decent, but there are some choices in the deck that I feel are less exciting. And I think they were in part included to beef up the sacrifice side of the deck, which is less exciting in part because it's so hard for this deck to get all of its engines running. Now, if this were just a straight up zombies deck with sacrifice as a minor theme, I think it would work better, but you have a lot of cards in this deck that just don't really fit in terms of generating those early zombies and then benefiting off their sacrifice or the sacrifice of other cheap cards that you might have. On top of that, there are many additional cards that are put into this deck. On top of that, there are a lot of creatures in this deck that aren't zombies and don't actually pursue the zombie game plan, and so this is most obvious from Eloise, but also there's a lot of expensive creatures like the Ruthless Deathfang, the Eater of Hope, the Butcher of Malakir, and other creatures at the top of the curve that don't really care about zombies, don't really do anything about zombies, and yes, they do offer sacrifice-based synergies, but like I said, with this deck, you often don't have enough fodder for sacrifice early on, and you might be able to do it later, assuming that you are playing multiplayer and there's enough creatures in the graveyard for you to start exiling with some of the cards that are in the deck to generate those early 2/2s. But I feel like there's just not enough going on early on that this deck actually has the power to make its engine hum in a pleasant way. There's also just a number of cards that I feel like are underwhelming, that don't really fit the synergy and aren't terribly exciting in the shape of this deck. For example, the Curse of Unbinding doesn't care about sacrifice and might steal other cards, but it's 7 mana and it doesn't feel like it really wins the game. And so why would you want that card in this deck when you could just put some cheap common self-milling zombie into the deck instead? And so those are all the things that I'm thinking about when it comes to what this deck is trying to do and how effective it can actually be at it. So in terms of this deck's efficacy, I think it's actually quite small. I do think that there's a good zombie base here. So if you want to like rip out some of the cards that are less focused towards what zombies are trying to do, there are a lot of good cards here for someone who wants to play a zombies deck. I just don't know that you're going to want to just take this deck unaltered and play it against other precons, because I feel like it's just weaker because I think its synergies don't work as well for the curve that it has and what it's trying to do. And so if you just want to play zombies, I think it's a great start. Cut a bunch of cards out that don't really deal with that and then put more zombies in, and I think it'll work. If you want to do the sacrifice thing, I think you don't want to start with this because it's not a strong theme here, and I think you can do better. And so just buy the singles from this deck that you need. And those are my thoughts regarding Undead Unleashed. If you've had a chance to play with this deck, share your opinion about it in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button. This was Refresh. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time.